When we return to the story of Robert Downey Jr., drugs land the troubled actor in prison, and he reaches out to a psychiatrist for help.
In the golden haze of 1970s Hollywood, some children grew up with fame as their backdrop and chaos as their lullaby. Robert Downey Jr. was one of them. While other kids learned bedtime stories, he learned camera angles. His father, Robert Downey Sr., was a director, his mother, an actress. Their home smelled of cigarettes, celluloid, and ambition. He was born into the dream, but also into the danger that comes when a dream never sleeps. By age 5, Robert stood before the camera, his eyes curious yet tired, as if they had already seen too much. Hollywood didn't raise him, it consumed him whole. His father taught him art and addiction in the same breath, where chaos was normal and silence was rare. In a world that confused dysfunction with genius, Robert learned early that talent and turmoil can grow together, each fighting for control of the same fragile soul waiting to be seen. Fame was already whispering his name. At 17, Robert walked away from school and into the restless heartbeat of New York City. The neon lights, the sirens, the endless faces, they became his teachers. He studied how people moved, how they lied, how they laughed through pain. On small stages, he disappeared into strangers, pretending he knew who he was. Every role was a mask, and behind each one, the boy from Hollywood was quietly learning how to breathe again, to dream again, to simply exist. New York reshaped him with every failure and standing ovation. He learned to mimic emotion until it felt real, to balance charm with quiet torment. Directors saw something dangerous yet magnetic, an actor who blurred the line between performance and confession. On stage, he was fearless, alive. Off stage, he unraveled in silence. When the lights dimmed, applause fading, the masks slipped, and the boy beneath still didn't know who he was or what he was truly chasing anymore. Then came Hollywood's call, louder than he'd ever imagined. Roles stacked like dominoes, weird science, the pickup artist, and suddenly he was everywhere. Fame arrived early, fast, and dazzling. Cameras adored him, audiences trusted him. But behind the charm, exhaustion grew. He lived for applause yet feared silence. Each new movie felt like running from the last, as if constant motion could drown the noise inside. Success had a price, and he was paying in pieces. When less than zero came, everything changed. The role of a young addict mirrored the life he was already living. Critics praised his realism. Few realized it wasn't acting, it was confession. Every line cut closer to truth, and the screen became a mirror he couldn't look away from. The boy who once dreamed of control now watched himself unravel in high definition. Fame no longer felt like flight, it felt like free fall, and gravity was winning faster with every breath he took. Fame fades quietly. One day the phone rings nonstop, the next it's silent. Robert sat in apartments once filled with laughter, now haunted by echoes of what used to be. Scripts stopped coming, friends stopped calling. The stillness grew heavier each night. He told himself it was temporary, that every actor had dry spells, but deep down he felt it. Something inside him was slipping away, replaced by a loneliness he couldn't name and a silence he couldn't escape. He wandered through nights that bled into mornings, searching for anything that felt alive. The parties had lost their thrill, the city had lost its light. Fame had become a rumor whispered in rooms he no longer entered. He'd look out the window and see a world moving on without him. The boy who once owned every spotlight now hid from them, wrapped in his own regrets. Addiction wasn't a shadow anymore. It was company, familiar, and unforgiving. He tried to act normal, to audition, to smile when people asked how he was doing, but even his performances felt hollow, rehearsed by a man he didn't recognize. Sleep came in fragments, dreams came in loops. He'd wake with lines from old scripts echoing in his head, the applause replaced by silence. Hollywood was forgetting him, and worse, he was starting to forget himself. The world outside his window still sparkled, but none of it reached him. Some nights he'd replay old films just to remember what purpose felt like. His reflection in the TV screen looked older, heavier, a stranger wearing his smile. The fame that once gave him meaning now mocked him in every headline. He knew the crash was coming. He could feel it breathing down his neck. All the noise, all the brilliance, all the chaos had led him here, to a single truth whispered in the dark. The fall had already begun. Then came the headlines, the flashing bulbs, the mugshots, the slow humiliation of seeing your name beside the word arrested. Hollywood watched with morbid fascination as its prodigy unraveled. Courtrooms replaced film sets. Judges replaced directors. The boy who once made audiences cry now stood silent, hands cuffed, face blank. Every camera captured not an actor, but a cautionary tale. For the first time, the applause had truly stopped, leaving only the sound of consequence. He promised to change. Everyone does the first time. Rehab, relapse, repeat. The pattern became its own performance. Friends still rooted for him, family still believed, but faith began to fade. His father visited, worn and worried, seeing in his son a reflection of his own mistakes. Robert wanted redemption, but the weight of expectation pressed harder than the cuffs ever did. Each relapse erased a second chance, until even hope began to sound rehearsed. By the late 90s, the story had written itself, Hollywood's fallen genius. He'd been replaced in films, dropped by studios, forgotten by the same hands that once built him up. Sitting in a cold cell, he stared at his hands, calloused from years of pretending. The silence was different now, thick, final. Somewhere between guilt and exhaustion, a thought emerged. Maybe this was where it all ended. But somewhere deeper, quieter, another thought whispered, not yet. The noise was gone now. No interviews, no premieres, no applause. Just the hollow hum of fluorescent lights above a cold concrete floor. Robert sat alone, the weight of years pressing on his shoulders like lead. For the first time, there was no character to hide behind, no script to follow. The silence felt endless, but inside it, something small began to stir. An ache that wasn't shame or fear, but recognition. He was still here, and that still mattered. Nights passed like months. He replayed his life scene by scene, wondering when ambition became addiction and when love turned into loneliness. The man who once felt untouchable now felt invisible. Fame had burned away every illusion, leaving only truth and consequence. Yet in that emptiness, clarity began to bloom. Pain, he realized, was honest. It didn't lie, it didn't flatter. And for the first time in years, honesty felt like something worth holding on to. In the quiet, he remembered the boy who wanted nothing more than to make people feel something real. That child had gotten lost somewhere between the lights and the lies. But maybe he wasn't gone, just buried. The cell wasn't a prison anymore. It was a mirror. And for once, he didn't look away. The fear, the failure, the guilt. All of it reflected back the same message. Redemption wasn't given to him. It had to be earned. When the door finally opened, he didn't smile. He didn't speak. He just breathed. The world outside was waiting, the same world that had watched him fall. But this time, something inside him had shifted. He wasn't chasing fame or forgiveness. He was chasing himself. As he stepped into the sunlight, his shadow stretched long across the ground, a reminder of everything he'd survived. The story wasn't over. It was only pausing, waiting for the next act to begin.